Lindsey Vonn skied through 3 seasons without pain. She felt strong, she trained hard, and she kept winning races. Then mid-turn during a 2013 World Championship run, her ACL snapped. Surgeons went in to repair it. They found cartilage wear and meniscus damage that had been building for years. None of it hurt until everything broke at once. That's the nightmare with knees. Pain isn't an early warning system, it's a final alarm. By the time you feel it, the damage has been stacking for months. And most people have no idea this is happening right now in their own knees. I'm Dr. Kellum, one of the orthopedic surgeons for the Tennessee Titans and USA Basketball. I scope knees that look fine from the outside but are falling apart on the inside. Today I'm showing you why Olympic athletes heading into Milano Cortina 2026 don't feel damage until it's catastrophic, what the real early signs are, and how you catch this pain before it ever shows up. Because your knee is doing this right now, you just don't know it yet. Here's what people misunderstand about knee pain. Pain is not about early warnings, it's about late stage notification. By the time your knee hurts, damage has already been accumulating for months. And let me show you why. Cartilage has 0 nerve endings. You can wear down 30, 40, even 50% of your cartilage and feel absolutely nothing. Think of cartilage like the cables inside a suspension bridge. From the outside, the bridge looks fine. Traffic flows normally. But inside the cable, the individual wires are snapping one by one. No alarms, no warning signs. The bridge still holds until one day, one more car crosses and the cable gives. That's your cartilage. Silent deterioration until catastrophic failure. Figure skaters land thousands of jumps over a career, and every landing compresses the cartilage. Ilya Malinin landed the first quad axel in competition at the age of 17. That's 6 times his body weight, hitting his knee under a 1/10 of a second. His cartilage doesn't hurt when it compresses, but over time, it wears thin. When enough is gone, bone starts rubbing closer to the other bone, and that's when pain finally shows up. By then, cartilage can't regenerate. You're managing damage, not preventing it. Same pattern with meniscus tears. Your meniscus is cartilage that cushions your knee joint. When it develops a small tear, it doesn't hurt immediately. Snowboarders rotate their knees constantly during those tricks. After the 2022 Beijing Olympics, Shaun White retired with multiple knee surgeries from years of rotational stress. A small meniscus tear doesn't cause pain, but every twist makes it slightly bigger. Eventually, a piece flips into the joint and your knee locks. That's when you notice. But the tear didn't start that day. It started months earlier when nothing hurt. It's like an electrical grid. When one of those connections weakens, the system reroutes the power to compensate. Everything still works, lights stay on, but keep losing connections and eventually the whole grid fails. Not because the last connection was worse, but because the system ran out of its backup option. That's your meniscus compensating for damage until it can't anymore. And ligaments follow the same pattern. Your ACL can accumulate micro tears without pain. Alpine skiers, well, they put their ACLs under tension thousands of times per season. Every gate they hit, every landing they stick, every hard edge they take puts stress on that ligament. The ligament doesn't send pain signals, it quietly frays like a rope holding on a swing. You pull it on every day for 3 years and it looks fine. Then one pull, same as always, and it snaps. People call it a freak accident. It's not. It's accumulated stress finally exceeding the tissue capacity. Here's the harsh reality. Pain doesn't appear when damage starts. It appears when damage crosses the threshold that your body can't compensate for. Lindsey Vonn's recent knee injury is a perfect example of this. It wasn't one bad moment. It was years of accumulated stress finally reaching the limit. That's how this worked. By then, you're not preventing injury. You're treating a breakdown. And most people are terrible at reading the signals that come before the pain. So if pain comes late, how does the Olympic athletes know when something's wrong? They don't wait for pain, they watch for the signals. And most people completely miss these. Signal number 1, movement quality changes. When a figure skater's landing starts looking slightly off, even without pain, coaches notice immediately. Maybe the knee wobbles just a bit. Maybe the weight shifts to one side. It's subtle, but it means something. That something's not correctly firing. And if it's not firing under control, it will fail under fatigue. For you, this shows up as hesitation. You step down from a curb, you pause for a fraction of a second. You pivot to grab something and your knee feels odd, not painful, just off. That hesitation is your brain saying, I don't really trust this joint right now. When your brain doesn't trust your knee, it's because the movement patterns have degraded. Don't ignore that feeling. Your nervous system doesn't send false alarms. Signal number 2, swelling without pain. Speed skaters monitor for puffiness even when the knees don't hurt. Swelling means inflammation. Inflammation means your knee responded to stress that it fully couldn't handle. You might feel fine, but your body is signaling load exceeded capacity. Most people see slight puffiness after a hike and they think, doesn't hurt, must be fine. Well, that's wrong. Swelling is the signal. Pain comes later. It's like when your car's temperature gauge climbs higher than normal. The engine still runs. I mean, you can still drive it, but something's overheating, and if you ignore it, you'll be calling a tow truck in 20 miles, I promise. Your knee works the same way. Swelling is the temperature warning before the breakdown. Signal number 3, fatigue patterns. When Olympic hockey players notice that their knee feels more tired than usual after the game, it's not sore, just heavy, they pay attention. Fatigue means that the muscles around the knees are working overtime to stabilize that joint. When muscles fatigue, ligaments take over the stabilization, and that's when injury happens. For you, this looks like your knee feeling heavy by the evening or needing to sit more often than normal. That's not age, that's your knee working harder than it should to stay stable because something else broke down. These are the signals that athletes track religiously. When they see them, they adjust to training load, they add stability work, or they get imaging if they need it. They don't wait for pain to force their hand, because by the time pain shows up, you're not catching problems early, you're managing them late. If you're noticing any of these signals and you're wondering what to do, I built a guide that can help. Knee pain relief in under 5 minutes. Simple movements to reduce inflammation and restore control. It's free. Grab it at 5kneerelief.com. The link is below. Now let me show you what happens when you ignore these early signals. So what happens when you miss these signals? Well, you end up managing pain that's been 6 months in the making. Here's a real case. 51-year-old patient who loved to hike. Her knee felt fine on trails, but she noticed her knee felt stiff the next morning. Not painful, just tight for the first 15 minutes. She ignored it and she kept hiking. The stiffness would disappear after moving around, so she assumed that it was nothing. 8 months later, her knee locked mid-hike, couldn't bend it, couldn't straighten it. MRI showed a meniscus tear, significant cartilage wear, and early arthritis. None of that damage happened the day her knee locked. It accumulated over 8 months of ignoring stiffness. Stiffness was the early signal. Locking was the breakdown. Same pattern with Olympic athletes when they pushed through the warnings. After Shaun White retired in 2022, he talked about how knee damage didn't happen in crashes. It happened over thousands of landings that felt fine individually, but it added up over time. Think of it like a dam holding back water. Each landing, each training session added a little more water behind the wall. The dam looks solid, it's holding, but the pressure keeps building. Then one more session, same intensity as the last 100, and the dam fails. Not because the session was different, but the accumulated pressure finally exceeded structural capacity. Your knee operates the same way. Every activity that exceeds your current capacity adds to the total load. And when you max out, pain, swelling, and dysfunction shows up simultaneously. But the load started accumulating months ago. You just didn't see the pressure rising. So how do you actually catch the knee breakdown before it becomes a crisis? You track early signals, just like the Olympic athletes do. Here's what to monitor. Number 1, movement hesitation. If you pause before stepping off a curb, slow down before you pivot, or you favor one leg on stairs, your brain doesn't trust your knee. That's not weakness, that's instability. Fix it with single leg balance work to restore your brain's confidence in that joint. Number 2, swelling after activity, even without pain. If your knee puffs up after you hike or your workout or long days walking, that's inflammation telling you that you've exceeded the load capacity. Don't ignore it. Reduce volume and recovery and let your knee adapt before pushing harder. Number 3, fatigue by the end of the day. If your knee feels heavy or you're tired and your stabilizing muscles are fatigued, add strength work for your glutes and your quad. That protects your knee when it's under stress. Number 4, stiffness that lasts more than 10 minutes. Morning stiffness is normal, but if it takes 20, 30, or even 40 minutes to disappear, that's active inflammation. You need to get imaging and you need to find what's irritated before it progresses. These 4 signals separate people who catch problems early from people who wait until surgery is the only option. One group stays active for decades. The others spend a lifetime wishing they'd listened sooner. What separates people who stay active into their 70s from people who break down in their 40s isn't genetics. It's attention to the signals that come before the pain. Movement hesitation, swelling without pain, fatigue, stiffness that lingers. These are your knees saying, I'm approaching my limit. Olympic athletes adjust training when they see these. Most people ignore them and they wait for the pain. By the time the pain shows up, you're managing the damage that's been building for months. Don't wait for the final alarm. Watch for the early warnings. I've scoped hundreds of knees over the past 20 years. The patterns never change. People ignore signals for months, then the pain arrives and they finally take the action. The one who avoids surgeries are the one who listens when the whisper starts, not when the screaming begins. You can do the same thing. If you want that free guide, Knee Pain Relief in under 5 minutes, grab it at 5kneerelief.com. And if you're ready to stop waiting for pain and actually address what your knee is telling you, we specialize in exactly that. The link is below. Subscribe if this clicked. Comment and tell me which athlete you're most excited to see in Milano 2026 Olympics. I'm Dr. Ethan Kellum. Stay strong, stay healthy, and remember, the best surgery is the one you never need.